Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we are reading from the book Krishna Consciousness, the Topmost Yoga System, written by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Continuing with fifth chapter, Our Real Life. The Bhagavad Gita says that out of many thousands of human beings, one may try to make perfection of his life. Man is an animal, but he has one special prerogative, that is rational thought. What is that rational thought? Reasoning power, argument. Now, reasoning power is there even in dogs and cats. Suppose a dog comes to you and if you say hut, he'll understand. Dog will understand that you don't want him. So, he has some reasoning power. But what is the special reasoning power of the human beings? As far as the bodily necessities are concerned, the reasoning power is there even in the animal. If a cat wants to steal some milk from the kitchen, she has a very nice reasoning power. She is always looking to see when the master is out and she can take. So, for the four propensities of animal life, which are eating, sleeping, mating and defending, there is a reasoning power even in the beasts. Then, what is the special reasoning power of the human beings by which he is called the rational animal? This special reasoning power is to inquire, why am I suffering? This is special reasoning. The animals are also suffering, but they do not know how to remedy the suffering. But human beings are making scientific advancements and philosophical advancements, cultural advancements, religious advancements, progress in so many lines because they want to be happy. Where is the point of happiness? This reasoning power is especially given to human beings. Therefore, in the Gita, Krishna says, out of many men, one may know me. Generally, the people are just like animals. They simply do not know anything beyond the necessities of the body, how to eat, how to sleep, how to mate, and how to defend. And the Bhagavad Gita says, out of many thousands, some may develop this reasoning. Why am I suffering? He asks this question. We do not want to suffer, but suffering is forced upon us. We do not want too much cold, but too much cold and too much heat are forced upon us. When there is some impetus to awaken this reasoning power, it is called Brahma Jignasa. This is found in Vedanta Sutra. The first verse says that now, this human form of life is meant for asking the question of how to solve the problem of suffering. So Krishna says that this special prerogative of human being is not easily awakened, except by some good association. Just as we have this Krishna conscious association, if we attain such association, where nice things are discussed, then the awakening of reason, that special prerogative of human being will come. As long as this question doesn't arise in one's mind, he should understand that whatever activities he is doing, it will lead to his defeat. He is simply leading an animal life. But not when this question arises. Why am I suffering? What am I? Am I meant for suffering? Am I meant for troubles? I am undergoing troubles by nature's law and by state's law. So, the question of freedom is to how to become free from all these troubles. The Vedanta Sutra also says that the soul, my actual self, is by nature very joyful. Yet I am suffering. Lord Krishna says that when these questions arise, gradually one comes to God. Those who have awakened to these questions are said to lie on the path of perfection. And when the question of God and our relationship with God comes, that is the final perfection of life. Now, Krishna says that out of many thousands of people, one may try to make perfection of this life. And out of many millions of such persons on the path of perfection, only one may understand Krishna. So, understanding Krishna is not very easy. But it is also the easiest. It is not easy, but at the same time, it is the most easiest. It is the easiest if you follow the prescribed forms. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has introduced this chanting of Hare Krishna. He has not actually exactly introduced it, it is in the scriptures, but he has especially propagated this formula. In this age, this is the easiest method of self-realization. Simply chant Hare Krishna. It can be done by everyone. In my classroom, I am perhaps the only Indian. My students are all Americans and they are taking part in the chanting very nicely. Chanting and dancing. That means that in any country, in any place, this can be performed. Therefore, it is the easiest. You may not understand the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, But that is also not very difficult. But still, if you think that you cannot understand, you can still chant very easily, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. If we want to understand God, Krishna, this is the beginning. The easiest beginning, simply chanting. Now, there are many students of my ISKCON institution. This institution is open a little over a year. But some of the students, by simply chanting, by the grace of Krishna, have advanced in such a way that they can talk about the science of God, and they will very easily answer those human questions. So, this is the easiest method of transcendental meditation. Krishna says that out of many millions of people, one may understand him. But by chanting of this Hare Krishna, as introduced by Lord Chaitanya, chanting and dancing, you can understand Krishna within very short time. Knowledge begins not from Krishna, but from the things which we are accustomed to see every day. Land is gross. If you touch it, you can feel its hardness. But as soon as the land becomes still finer, it is water. The touch is soft. And then again, from water to fire, still finer. After fire or electricity, the air is still finer. And after air, the sky, that is ether, is still finer. Beyond ether, the mind is still finer. And beyond the mind, intelligence is still finer. And if you go beyond intelligence to understand the soul, it is finer still. From these elements, people have discovered so many sciences. There are many scientists right now, for example, who are soil experts. They can say, just by analyzing a particular type of earth, what kind of minerals are there. Somebody seeks out silver, somebody seeks out gold, somebody seeks out mica or mica. This is the knowledge of gross things, the earth. If you go to finer substances, then you study water or liquid things, such as petrol and alcohol. Go still finer. And from water you will go to fire and electricity. If you study electricity, you will have to study all sorts of books, and from this finer fire you will come to air. We have so much advancements in our airplanes. We are studying how they move, how they are made. Now, Sputniks and jets. So many things are being discovered. Next comes to the study of ethereal, electronics, ethereal transformations from one thing to another. Then, finer still is the mind psychology and psychiatry. But for intelligence, there is only a little philosophical speculation. What about the soul? Is there any science of the soul? The materialists have none. Material science have advanced to the study of ether or the mind and intelligence, but there is no advancement beyond that. Beyond intelligence, they do not know what exists. But here in the Bhagavad Gita, you can find this. The Bhagavad Gita begins at the point after intelligence, when Arjuna was perplexed. At the outset of his intelligence was perplexed, whether to fight or not to fight. Krishna begins the Gita from the point where intelligence fails. How does knowledge of the soul begin? It is just like a child is playing. You can understand this child's body is now so small, but one day the child will be grown up, like you or me. But the same soul will continue. So, by intelligence, you can understand that although the body is changed, the soul is there. The same soul which was existing in the body of a child is still continuing in the body of the old man. Therefore, the soul is permanent and only the body has changed. This is a very easy thing to understand. The last change of this body is death. As at every moment, every second, every day, every hour, the body is changing. So the last change is when one cannot act with this body, and so he has to take another one. Just as when my cloth is too worn or too old, I cannot put it on. I have to take a new cloth. It is similar with the soul. When the body is too old or unworkable, I have to change to another body. This is called death. This is the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, when the preliminary knowledge of the soul is there, and when you find that there are only few who can understand the existence of the soul as permanent and of the body as changeable. Therefore, Bhagwan, Lord Krishna, says that out of many millions of people, one may understand it, but still the knowledge is there. If you want to understand it, it is not very difficult. You can understand it. Now, we should inquire into the existence of the ego, the finest material substance. What is ego? I am a pure soul, but with my intelligence and mind, I am in the contact with matter, and I have identified myself with the matter. This is false ego. I am a pure soul, but I am identifying myself falsely. For example, I am identifying with the land, thinking that I am Indian or I am American. This is called ahankar. Ahankar means the point the pure soul touches matter. That junction is called ahankar. Ahankar is still finer than intelligence. Krishna says that these are the eight material elements, which are earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. False ego means false identification, thinking that I am this matter, although I am seeing every day, at every moment, that I am not this matter. Soul is permanently existing, while matter is changing. This misconception, this illusion, is called ahankar or false ego. And your liberation means when you are out of this false ego. What is that status? Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. I am spirit. That is the beginning of liberation. Of course, one may be suffering from a disease, from fever, and the temperature may come down to normal 98.6 degrees. So he is now normal. But that is not the cure. Suppose for 2 days he has 98.6 degrees temperature, but with a slight change of diet, a slight change of behavior, the temperature immediately rises to 100. Relapse. Similarly, simply purifying the mind, rejecting this false ahankar identification that I am not this body, I am not this matter, I am a soul. This is not liberation. It is only the beginning of liberation. If you stick to this point and continue, just as you might continue your activities and keep your temperature at 98.6 degrees, then you are a healthy man. For example, in the West, there is some propaganda for taking intoxication. The people want to forget the bodily existence. But for how long will you forget? There will be a relapse. You can forget for 1 hour or 2 hours by intoxication and think that I am not this body. But unless you are actually on the platform of understanding yourself by knowledge, it is not possible to continue. Still, everyone is trying to think, I am not this body. They have experienced that they are suffering so much on the account of bodily identification. And so, if only I could forget my bodily identification. This is only a negative conception. When you actually realize yourself, simply understanding that you are Brahman will not do. You will have to engage in activities of Brahman. Otherwise, you will fall down. Simply flying very high is no solution to the problem of going to the moon. Nowadays, the fools are trying to go to the moon, but they simply go 240,000 miles up from the earth, touch the moon and return. They are very proud of this. And there is so much talk of aeronautics, crowds and meetings and conferences. But what have they done? What are 240,000 miles in the vast sky? If you go 240 million miles above, you are still limited. So this will not do. If you want to go high, you must have a permanent shelter. If you can take rest there, then you cannot fall down. But if you have no rest, then you will have to fall down. The airplane goes high, 7 miles, 8 miles up from the earth, but it comes down immediately. So, simply understanding ahankara means no more than understanding the false identification. Simply understanding that I am not the matter, I am soul is not perfection. The impersonalist, the void philosopher, simply thinks of the negative, that I am not this matter, I am not this body. This will not stay. You will have to not only realize that you are not matter, but you will have to engage yourself in spiritual world. And that spiritual world means to be working in Krishna consciousness. That spiritual world, that functioning of our real life is Krishna consciousness. False ego I have already explained. It is neither matter nor spirit, but the junction, where the spirit soul comes in the contact with matter and forgets himself. It is just as in delirium, a man is diseased and his brain becomes puzzled, and gradually he forgets himself and becomes a madman. He is gradually forgetting. So, there is a beginning of loss, and there is one point where he forgets. That beginning point is called ahankara or false ego. Chanting the Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare is the process not merely of putting an end to this false conception of self, but it goes beyond that, to the point where the pure soul engages in his eternal, blissful, all-knowing activities in the loving service of God. This is the height of consciousness development, the ultimate goal of all living entities, now evolving through the cycles and species of material nature. So, with this, we end our fifth chapter, Our Real Life. Thank you. Hare Krishna.